Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show that takes a whole stack of sources and boils them down into insights you can, well, actually use.
That's the goal.
And today, we're tackling something huge for English learners. That feeling, that pressure, you know?
Oh, yeah. The grammar hurdle.
Exactly. This idea that you have to have perfect grammar before you can really speak English fluently, it holds so many people back.
It really does.
But what if, and this is what we're diving into, what if that belief, that fear of messing up the grammar is the real problem? Our mission today is to challenge that fear. We want to show you a path to fluency that maybe surprisingly doesn't start with perfect grammar.
It's a different way of looking at it.
So think about this. What if it's not the rules you don't know, but the fear of being imperfect that's stopping you from speaking?
It's a powerful question.
Mm-hmm.
And our sources, they really dig into this. Now, look, grammar rules are valid, right? They give structure, precision.
So-
But what we found, the kind of deeper truth here, is that real fluency often develops. Well, it sort of sidesteps that grammar first approach, especially early on.
Okay.
So yeah, get ready for some, I think, quite eye-opening ideas and some really practical things you can do. Things that might just change how you approach learning English entirely.
Okay, let's unpack this fear then, this grammar fear barrier. Why is grammar, which is, essential, why does it freak people out so much?
Hmm.
Our sources point to this kind of mental trap. It's not just that there are loads of rules, tenses, articles, prepositions, all that sentence structure stuff.
Which can be overwhelming.
Totally. It's the paralysis it causes. You might know the words, you have the thoughts, you know what you want to say. But you just stay quiet.
What?
Why?
Why does that happen?
It's that voice in your head, isn't it? That internal editor.
Always judging.
Right. Is this sentence perfect? Did I use the right tense? Or just, what if I make a mistake?
A really obvious one.
Yeah. Will people laugh? Will they think I'm stupid because I said he go instead of he goes?
That fear of judgment.
And that constant checking, that self-scrutiny, our sources show it becomes this massive wall. It stops people from even trying to speak. It's less about not knowing enough and more about being too afraid to use what you do know.
And that leads us right into a really key insight from the research we looked at. It boils down to this. You don't need perfect grammar to be a good speaker.
Okay.
You just need practice.
Practice speaking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, this isn't saying grammar isn't important eventually. It is. But it reframes its role. Think about why we use language in the first place.
To communicate.
Right. It's
Yeah.
about getting your message across, your thoughts, feelings, needs, ideas.
Yeah.
If someone understands you, if you connect, well, communication happened.
Even if the grammar wasn't textbook perfect.
Precisely. The focus shifts. It's less about sort of academic perfection and more about practical, real-world connection. It frees you up to just talk.
And if we want proof of how language is actually learned, we just need to look at, well, little kids learning to talk.
The ultimate language learners, really.
The sources often use that classic example, a toddler saying, me want milk, not I want milk.
Grammatically wrong.
But here's the thing, right? Do we understand what the child means?
Absolutely. Crystal clear.
The message gets through perfectly, even with the error. It shows that fluency, at its core, is about being understood. Effective communication, not perfect grammar.
It's about getting the job done, linguistically speaking.
Getting your point across, even if the package isn't perfectly wrapped. Being understood, not reciting rules.
And what's really fascinating, if you take that idea and look at native English speakers,
Yeah.
we make grammar mistakes all the time, every day. A slip of the tongue, mixing up who and whom, maybe a sentence structure that's a bit wonky in casual chat.
Happens constantly.
Constantly. But we just keep talking, right? We don't freeze up fearing judgment.
Yeah.
So this raises a big question for you listening. If native speakers aren't perfect, why do learners put this incredible, almost paralyzing pressure on themselves to be flawless right from the start?
That's a really good point.
It connects to how we learn almost any complex skill, doesn't it? Like, learning a language isn't that different from learning to ride a bike or play guitar or code.
How so?
Well, it's iterative. You try something, you probably mess up, you make a mistake. That's the fail part, I guess. You adjust, you refine, you try again.
A cycle.
Yeah, it's this loop of trying and improving. It's not like
Okay.
you jump from knowing nothing to being absolutely perfect in one go.
Right.
So this idea that you have to master every single rule before you speak, it just doesn't match how humans actually learn and use language effectively in the real world. That initial broken phase, it's not a bug, it's a feature. It's part of the process.
Okay, so if immediate grammar perfection isn't the goal, then what should you be doing instead? Let's get practical. This is the what to do part based on the sources. Actionable stuff.
Okay, strategy number 1. It's super direct. Maybe the hardest one for some people, actually.
Which is?
Speak more. Worry less.
Spell what's that? Simple to say, harder to do. The advice is clear. Don't wait. Don't wait until you think you've learned every grammar rule. Start speaking now.
Even if it's just tiny sentences?
Especially if it's just tiny sentences. The act of speaking, even imperfectly, that's the muscle you need to build. You're building what linguists sometimes call an interlanguage.
These are a language.
Yeah, it's like your own personal, evolving version of English. It's not perfect yet, but it's moving closer to the target language over time. And that temporary, imperfect system, it's absolutely crucial. It's a stepping stone.
That makes sense. It shifts things from just knowing about the language to actually using it. And the sources give really simple examples, don't they?
They do. Very practical.
Like, you're getting coffee. Instead of stressing, just say, coffee, please. Or a friend asks how you are. Today I feel happy. Someone offers you food. This food is very tasty.
Perfectly understandable.
Right. They might not be super complex sentences, but the meaning is totally clear. The core message is, just speak. Try not to overthink it.
Every word counts. Every word you actually say is a step forward. Even if it feels a bit clumsy, you're lowering that mental workload of constant translation and just letting it out.
Exactly.
Okay, strategy 2. This one's about efficiency, kind of building shortcuts in your brain. It's use sentence patterns.
Ah, yes, this is a good one.
The idea is you learn these simple, reusable structures, like little building blocks, right? Or pre-made sentence frames you can adapt.
That's a great way to put it, linguistic scaffolds.
Mm.
And you use them without having to consciously think through all the grammar rules each time.
So it makes things easier, faster.
Definitely. It's surprisingly natural, actually, and very effective.
Yeah.
It stops you getting bogged down trying to remember complex rules while you're trying to talk. The sources give great examples like
Go on.
patterns like, I want to go. Get you. I like to go. You just slot in the word you need.
I want to eat. Can you help? I like to read.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Simple, grammatically fine, instantly understandable. These patterns become like neural shortcuts. Your brain grabs the template instead of building the sentence from zero every time.
Less effort, more speed, more confidence.
Precisely. It's kind of how native speakers often operate without even thinking about it.
Okay, and the third strategy.
Strategy 3 is all about immersion and, crucially, active imitation. Watch, listen, copy.
So surround yourself with English.
Yes, but actively. Watch YouTube, listen to podcasts like this one, watch movies, news clips, whatever interests you. But don't just let it wash over you.
What's the active part? Copying.
Copying. There's a technique often called shadowing. You literally copy how native speakers talk. Their words, phrases, whole sentences.
How does that work?
You pause the audio or video, and you repeat what you just heard. Try to mimic not just the words, but the way they're said.
Like the rhythm, the intonation.
Exactly. The stress patterns, the music of the language. Because, as the sources really highlight, fluency is about rhythm, not just grammar.
Interesting. Rhythm over rules, in a way.
Well, your brain naturally picks up language in chunks, these little groups of words that flow together. Shadowing trains your brain to recognize and produce these natural trumps.
So you start sounding more natural without consciously applying grammar rules.
That's the idea. It builds these auditory pathways. It helps you sound more authentic. So for your daily practice, it means really engaging with spoken English, absorbing its flow, not just picking apart sentences on paper.
Okay, 3 solid strategies. Speak more or worry less, use sentence patterns, watch, listen, copy.
And if we tie this all together, back to the big picture, it becomes really clear. Grammar is important, yes, for precision, for nuance, for sounding more sophisticated later on.
Okay.
But it's definitely not step 1. The first, most critical step has to be getting over that fear of speaking.
Prioritizing communication,
Yeah.
connection, over being perfect.
Yes. Giving yourself that freedom to speak, even if it's imperfect, builds the confidence you absolutely need. Then you can start layering on more grammatical accuracy later.
Right. So, step 1, speak without fear. And that means, well, it means accepting you'll speak what feels like broken English sometimes.
Embrace it.
You will make mistakes, sometimes big ones, sometimes small. Maybe funny ones. But that, listener, that is exactly how you grow.
Mistakes aren't failure. They're feedback.
Vital data points.
Mm-hmm.
They show where you are right now, not where you'll always be. They're essential for your brain to learn and adjust. Like learning to ride a bike, you wouldn't learn fast if you were terrified of falling, right?
Not at all. And what if someone does laugh?
What do the sources say?
Direct advice. Smile and keep going. Seriously.
Yeah.
What you're doing learning English, it's amazing. It's a global skill, opens up the world.
New cultures, new connections.
It shows your determination. Anyone who gets language learning will admire your courage, not pick on a small slip-up.
And here's a thought from the sources, something to keep you going. One day, people are going to ask you how you got so fluent. They'll want your secret. They won't know about the journey, the broken English phase, the little acts of bravery, just speaking up. They'll just see you speaking English confidently.
A powerful motivator.
So let's wrap this deep dive. The core takeaway for you today. It's simple, really, but it could change everything. From today, just speak. Speak freely.
Don't wait.
Don't wait for perfect grammar. Don't let that idea of perfection keep your voice locked up. Start with what's in your heart, your thoughts. Use your voice as it is right now. Take the leap.
And that leads to maybe one final thought for you to ponder. If fluency in language really is more about communication and connection than perfect rule following,
Yeah.
well, what other perfect barriers might we be putting up for ourselves? Not just in language, but in other parts of life. How often do we hold back from doing something, starting a hobby, a project, pitching an idea, just because we're waiting until we feel perfect first?
That's a deep question to chew on.
Something to think about.
Remember, your fluency, your voice, it's your right. Own it. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.